Hi, Teresa.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm also good, thanks.
Awesome. So, as always, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us. And I think let's get started right away. Yeah?
Yeah, let's.
Okay, perfect. So, let's start from the top. Where were you before joining Chenosis? And yeah, like how did your tech journey begin?
Chenosis is my first tech journey, fully like industry. Before that, I was in varsity at Nelson Mandela University, that's in Port Elizabeth, now called Rebecca. So yeah, I did my diploma there, and I also did my vast diploma in IT, and I just majored in software development. So yeah, that's where my journey starts in like the tech world. To be like, yeah, okay, you're here.
Amazing. And I mean, what made you choose to study this?
I always lie to you. First year, I was doing support services, right? And then
Mhm.
I saw that, so I had friends who were doing software, who majored in software development. So I looked at it, I was looking at their question papers and mine. I was like, this one looks more exciting than the one that I'm doing. So, and it was mostly the same things. I was like, why am I not doing software development? And when I researched about it, about the career opportunities it has, I was like, yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really cool. I know quite a lot of people who pivoted,
Yeah.
so where they would actually study one thing and then work on in a totally different industry. And I mean, you made that turn in varsities. Yeah, that's quite cool. That's quite cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, let's talk about stenosis specifically. How did you like come to apply to the position, or at least the learner program slash graduate program? And what was your first week like?
So, you know what? On my final year, the final year when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to work now. You start
Yeah.
applying, you start panic applying. So I started applying, I was applying to different sites, and then my older sister just told me that I should apply through a platform called Leaply. So, which she actually set up the account. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I put in my
That's amazing.
documents.
Your sister, shout out.
Yeah. She set up my profile. She was like, write your bio, upload your documents. So I did that, and then I applied for the graduate program for MTN, and then I got into the group one, which got me into Chenosis. So that's where I
Okay.
started my journey into Chenosis. So firstly, it was like I was researching about like MTN and what it does, and then Chenosis was like this startup. It's new. I was like, okay, what is this? And
I think a
then
lot of people have
yeah,
that question. What is this?
I got this, and the information online you found about it was like this small. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And then, but yeah, I got in my first week. It was nerves. I
Really?
think I don't remember most of it. I remember being introduced to a lot of people. I don't remember one name from the people I was introduced to. It was just like,
We're all guilty
hi.
of that, aren't we?
I'm the way to say themselves. And I was like, I'm Teresa. Oh, but everyone was so
Yeah.
nice. I just know that everyone was so nice, but I couldn't like take in everything. It was just too nerve
Yeah.
wracking. But the first week, like everyone came in, they introduced themselves. So what part are you in? Oh, you're gonna love it here. During lunch, they got let's go to lunch together. Like they were really including me and trying to get me familiar, or like try to get me to understand exactly what Chenosis is about. So it was a really nice week, Shane, nerves aside. Yeah.
That's really nice to hear. I guess for me also, I just, I joined as a remote part of the marketing team. So
Yeah.
when I first met everyone, I felt exactly the same. I felt so bad because I forgot everyone's names and I was like, oh my gosh, you're trying to take in the work and you're trying to like remember people's names. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so like fast forward to now, what is your life like? What is the transition from a startup environment like Chenosis been? And then maybe let's talk about how the environment in Chenosis helped bridge a little bit of a gap a lot of young people in tech often face.
Yeah. So at Chenosis, I like to say that it's very open, right? You can ask anyone anything. Like there's no one you can't say, hey, can you please help me with this? They'll say no. No, they'll be like, okay, let's do it. They'll even post what they're doing to help you. Also, they give you a lot of research. You're interested in this, go research about it, tell me what you know, and then, read a lot. And then they'll give you documentation. Okay, the documentation I should read is a lot. Sorry, Lo, I got distracted by a message I got here. Can we try that again?
Yeah, that's fine. What I asked was, let's basically fast forward to where you are now, which is basically your second step, or literally your second part of your career. And if you can reflect on, the transition from a space and environment like Chenosis into a large institution like MTN, what has that transition been like, and how Chenosis perhaps helped help bridge a gap that a lot of young people who come straight into the workforce experience. They often don't have this helping hand, or they're kind of just left to their own devices. So if you can just reflect on all of those. I know it's a lot of questions in one question, so
I'll try to answer the ones. Yeah.
Okay.
So my journey starting from Chenosis, transitioning to a bigger corporate, if I could say, from a startup. So Chenosis is very open. Everyone is welcoming. They will always help out if you need help. And they're always ready to explain. They don't mind putting the work aside to just explain something to you or take you through it. Also, it's not a matter of if you are there and you're putting in the effort, they see it and they want to help you grow. So that's the part I really liked about Chenosis. They're always ready to help you grow more, learn more. So if you're interested in something, they're always try it out. Let's see how it goes. Also, it's kind of faster and a bit relaxed in the same breath, if I could say it like that. It's fast and kind of relaxed. So it's fast when it's fast, and it's relaxed when it's relaxed. So moving to where I'm at now, I found that there's a lot of standards that you have to abide by. So it's this way, this is how it's done, this is how we need to do it, and you need to do it like that. You can come up with an alternative if it's better, but there's a standard of how things are being done. So that was a big transition for me, because I went from let's try it out, let's find resources that are online that you can use for this, to these are the ones that are allowed, stick to these ones, which it makes sense. But yeah, it was a big adjustment for me. Yeah, I guess.
Okay. I think that's a great insight and takeaway, because with any startup, there's a lot of, especially a startup that's doing something completely new, that this has never been done before, where you're commercializing APIs and literally problem solving through one plugin. Or solving one problem through one plugin into an API. So that's never been done before in Africa, and you constantly having to basically figure it out as you go, build the blueprint. Whereas in MTN, the blueprint's been built over decades, so they got it locked down there. We're still getting there.
We'll get there, don't worry.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I guess every journey has its tough parts, right? Through your studies, through Chenosis, and currently where you are now. If you could maybe reflect back and maybe tell us more about the parts that was a bit hard for you.
So for me, I'd say the most obstacles that I went through is, so I'm the first one doing IT at home, like that, right? So there's no one who's gonna tell me how this works. So they're all in accounting and IS and all of that. So it was me very, very technical. So it's no one's doing this. Who am I gonna ask for help from? So finding resources where I can be who's done this before, that I can ask for assistance from, That was kind of hard at first, but now I think I've built a great community of people who I can ask for things, or who know what's been happening, or in the industry, what's happening in the industry. So that was one thing I really struggled with. Another one that I'll say is finances. So yeah, that's a reality of most South Africans. It's hard to get to this point, because you get bursaries and all of that, but they can only take you that far. You you learn how to budget. So I would say those are the two things that I mostly struggled with. Like if you see me now, I don't play around with doodles. I don't want them. So those are the things that you just struggle and go through. But yeah, you know, it was worth it, I guess.
No, I totally relate to that. And I guess just to wrap up our little conversation, I have two questions for you. One is what's next, you know, not just in your career, but I guess in your bigger purpose.
I'm so sorry, it's like the first people to Chenosis again when people are telling me their names.
It's on me, I'm sorry. Okay, so what's next? Not just in your career, but in your purpose.
Okay, now I remember when you said what's next. That's a tricky question, actually, because we don't know what will happen in the near future. But for me, my goals are like, what's next for me is to really upskill myself, is to like better myself. I'm talking personal relationships, work, like trying to understand my work and being very good at it, but also moving up, you know. I would like maybe one day to be in a leadership role, but I would like to also like nurture those leadership skills, because I've met great leaders, especially at Chenosis and where I'm at, the space that I'm at, who really push you to become the best. So I really think that that's where I would want to be. But next for me, also maybe be a CEO, you know,
yes.
MTN.
Oh my gosh. I genuinely hope that happens and we can look back in like in 10, 20 years be like, oh my gosh, you said it on video.
No, I'm joking. And I don't know if I answered that nicely or the way I would want to answer it.
I think you answered it really well. I think also what's important, especially with people in leadership, is that your impact on those working in your team, for your team, is really big. And never worked in a leadership role, but having many different kinds of leaders lead me, I think there's not, you know, there's that big impact they have, and I don't know if they know that or not. I'm sure they do.
I'm sure they do. They should know.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, they should know. Okay, so the last question, I kind of want to tie it back to when you mentioned that, you know, in your family you were the only one doing IT, so there wasn't like a lot of resources readily available, like physically, that you could go to be like, hey, what do you think, or that. So,
I think from a younger self, or someone who's still in their like first, second year or third year, even final year university, I'd say if there's not a like physical resources that you can go to, number one, first must be delulu a bit, you know, delusional about your journey. It will take you very far, I promise you. But also, I think there's a lot of online resources that you can use, you know, but you must also know exactly what you want, because there's a lot of information online. You can find information about anything. So I would say if you know exactly what you want, or you're still trying to figure out what you want, there's a lot of resources that will also give you that. But just focus, lock in on that and be like, okay, I want to be a software engineer or whatever. You find things that are aligned to that, you know, and you don't lose focus of that there is where I want to go. And you try by all means to go there. You know, there's like resources of like, you know, those TikToks of people's first day in the life. Those are very inspiring. But don't stay in their days in the life things. Watch it and be like, one day that's gonna be me. And then you know that you're going out, you're learning. If there's a course that will better you, do it. If you can go ask someone, ask. Because if you sit down and not do anything and be like, yeah, I want to be this, but there's no action towards that, yeah, it's not really gonna happen. Hey, like, you have to put in the effort. And in the wise words of Sard, you must execute.
If you'll watch this,
you probably won't, but execute.
I think that's a great way to end the conversation. And again, yeah, thank you so much. I always have such good laughs with you whenever we talk, even if it's about coffee or lunch or I don't know, or a trolley that's standing next to us. We would have a huge laugh. I always, I appreciate that a lot, and I miss that.
I do think there's some brain cells that me and you kind of share a bit, because your sense of humor is kind of matches mine.
Definitely on the
Yeah.
same level. But thank you so much, and all the best with your journey.
Thank you, love. Bye.